Hi, I'm Darcy Loma, and I'm here today on our Thoughtfully Fit Thursday broadcast with my colleague and friend, Jill Mueller.
Hi,
Hello, Jill.
Darcy.
Welcome.
Thanks, Darcy. I'm so happy you let me join you today because I was out for a walk with a friend a few weeks ago when it was nicer weather than this crazy snow that we have outside right now. And she was feeling frustrated at work. And as most people have frustrations and issues. And she was talking to me, and then she said, and then I see pictures of you and your team out in Jackson Hole and having fun. And I just wish I could be on a team where everybody gets along all the time. And I cracked up laughing, and I hear you laughing as well because we disagree all the time. And I told her that. I said, we have conflict all the time. And she seemed really surprised by that. And so I thought it might be fun since we talk about with this issue with teams so often, that we sort of have a little peek behind the curtain here at DLCC and talk about what conflict looks like specifically between the two of us.
I think that's such a great idea because there are times I saw a quote recently, and unfortunately I don't remember whose quote it was, and that's horrible, but they talked about that people are comparing their inner reel with people's outside highlight reel, right?
Yes.
I'm screwing that up a little bit, but
Yes.
and I feel like
Yes.
so, do you know it?
Yes. So like when you see people on social media, they're posting their highlight reel and you're living your entire life, comparing your life just to their highlights.
Yes. And so I love this idea that you said, why don't we talk about what's behind our, of course we do the same thing. We put highlights out on social media and the events we're doing and all of that, but like what's behind the scenes? And how do you and I in particular interact? Because every relationship, every team, every organization has conflict. And I think what we can share a little bit is there's a spectrum from healthy conflict, which I look at it like the team out on the basketball court, right? They're going at it, they're fighting hard, they want to win, and then afterwards it's like high five, good game.
Right.
All the way to the other end of the extreme, which is toxic, really dysfunctional conflict.
Yeah, and I think you raise a really good point because I think when I first started my career, I just assumed you didn't want conflict, right? Everybody should just get along, everything should be happy. And I think what I learned along the way and what you really helped me realize is conflict is inevitable. If there's not conflict, things are just sort of static and stagnant. And there's a way to have healthy conflict and not have it be toxic.
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt. I was just going to build on that. That not only it could be static, but it also might be that like there's things that aren't being said.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable and they're bubbling up, and then that's that whole post-meeting meeting, and the conflict is happening and venting elsewhere, and then the best outcome isn't possible because all the voices aren't at the table when you're discussing whatever issue it is because you don't want to disagree.
Exactly. So, Darcy, I put together 3 reasons that I think we have good conflict, and I wanted to throw these out at you and see what you thought of them.
I love that. That's only one of the many things I love about you.
So, the first one I have is we can disagree without it being personal. And so, what I mean by that is we have very different ideas on how to approach something. We can both read an article and have very different views. We can, I can throw something out at you in terms of a workshop or something, and you can disagree with it. And I don't feel like it's a personal attack on me. Does that make sense?
It totally does. So how did we get here? Because I agree with you completely. What do we do to get here, Jill? Where I can say, no, Jill, I don't agree. I think the agenda should be different. Or I'm trying to think of what created that for us.
I think it takes a certain level of trust and that enough time has gone by because as I think back, maybe the first time I worked for you, I had doubts in terms of, oh, I wonder if she thinks I'm a bad designer, or I wonder if she thinks I'm a bad trainer. And there was enough positive feedback to go along with the negative feedback that I became comfortable with you. And not just that when you shared your disagreements with me, but also if I disagreed with you, I know it was safe.
Yes.
you set the stage that you don't want just a yes man. You don't want somebody just saying, yes, Darcy, that's beautiful and perfect. You want people to disagree with you because we both know it leads to a better product. What do you think?
I agree completely. And there's a lot of times where we are at an event together, either co-presenting, co-facilitating, or you are there while I'm doing a keynote to look at the design and how is the audience reacting and how do the slides, all of that. And afterwards, I think one of the things that's built trust is that you do give really good critical feedback. And so I know that when you're sharing things that are positive, they're from the heart. And when you're sharing things that are critical, or you might disagree, or you say, Darcy, I don't think you're on your A game, or your energy was flat, I know that it's coming from a place of love. And I love that. I crave that.
Yeah, and I think that both of us know we're not working against each other. We're working towards the betterment of the product or the workshop or the keynote, whatever it is. And I think that makes it easier too. We're not fighting against each other. We're both fighting towards the same goal.
Yeah, and one more thing, when you talk about sort of the 5 characteristics of healthy teams, trust is one of them. The other one is that there's a strong shared vision and purpose. And I think that's part of what also helps us to be able to be in conflict or disagree with each other, because we know it's always in service of having strong, accomplishing or getting closer to our vision and our purpose of creating high-performing people and teams.
Exactly. Well, let me move on to our second thing that I think leads us to have good, healthy conflict. And this one also didn't happen overnight, but we have set ground rules. We have worked together to figure out how do we best work together. And as often as people might see us out together and, having fun and doing cool things, we have very different styles between you and me. And I think with other partners that could create conflict, and it has created conflict for us, and we have figured out a way to navigate that. So let me give you an example. Darcy, this isn't a surprise to Darcy, but I love having a deadline. I get extra energy when I know I need to get this in by noon. At 11 o'clock, I get my burst of energy. Whereas working with Darcy, I know if something's due at noon, she'd rather have it 2 days before. And that can create tension.
Yes, and it's because we know that about each other. I think it is something that we've designed around, and we will work through. And when there's something that's due, whatever, at the end of the month, you will check in with me saying, okay, so can we design what the next step is and what that deadline is? Because I need that deadline to be able to create that adrenaline and that motivation and that surge. And I want to honor that you want it done before the day before. And so I think that's one place where not only have we set ground rules on the front end, almost probably every single time we talk, we're doing a little mini. I mean, even this morning, so we had our daily meeting, and when and I had to push it back because I had a doctor's appointment. So when I called you, I said, hey, does this work to chat now? You said, yeah, I've got a coaching client at 9:30, so I've got 30 minutes. So I think also sort of we're constantly setting the ground rules, we're designing our alliance and the parameters so that you're not like at 9:27 going, oh my God, I can't believe she's still going on and on, right? So we're articulating that up front in real time.
Yeah, and the other example that I'll give from today is we set the ground rules in terms of what do we want from each other. So today I was showing Darcy an agenda for an event that's coming up, and I said, I need you to tear this apart. Like, give me your honest feedback. Don't hold anything back. And that's what I needed today compared to other days where I might be like, I'm feeling really tender about this. Can you just help me walk me through it? Can you coach me through this a little bit? And we both respect each other based on what we're looking for. And those ground rules is what allows us to get to that place without me saying, or, you giving honest feedback about a draft and then me feeling really hurt about it because I wasn't ready to hear it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what's the third one?
So the third one is we give each other the benefit of the doubt. And what I mean by this, I think about not that long ago, you had an idea and you started talking to me about it, and I just cut you off. I said, Darcy, I think that's a horrible idea. And you said to me, Jill, can I just finish my idea? And I caught myself. I'm like, yep, finish your idea. And we were able to have that conversation and continue that conversation with you knowing, okay, yeah, Jill messed up, but she recognized it. We can move on. And me knowing you're not going to hold it against me. Does that make sense?
It totally does. And also, like, for me in that moment to know, like, you were reacting, it's the first time you heard it, and that was your gut reaction. And what a lot of times for me, in the past, what would have happened is I would have shut down and I would have been like, she doesn't like it. And I would have gotten quiet and I would have stonewalled, as opposed to in the moment staying present and playful and trusting that, yep, you had a reaction, and that I said sort of playfully, okay, I know, just stay with me. Can I just finish out what my thought is? And I felt you in the moment feeling that. And of course, then we talked about it and debriefed it as well. But I knew, assuming best intent, right? And also that I didn't allow that to shut me down. And I was able to name it in the moment and stay engaged. And that was a big shift for me on how I've dealt with conflict in the past, or how I deal with it where there isn't such a strong trust.
Yeah. And let's be honest, that assuming good intent is a lot easier when you know the other person is also assuming good intent. But I think that's one thing that I've learned is you got to start somewhere. So it's easier with me, with you, knowing that you are also assuming good intent.
Yes. And then one more thing, I think what we do well is we ask for what we need. So, the other day I bombed on one of my events, and I called you and I just needed to vent. I didn't want to dissect it. I didn't want to, right? I just needed to be in the emotions. And then we looped back the next day to talk about, okay, what went wrong? Where did you, and then I had the energy and the ability. So I think, without naming that what I needed, you might have jumped in and started to dissect it, but I told you up front, that's not what I need right now.
Right. Exactly. So Darcy, thank you for being my partner in healthy conflict. I'm curious if there are any people out there who also experience healthy conflict and what that looks like. Or maybe you have questions about how else healthy conflict could be. That, just even the phrase healthy conflict can feel like such an oxymoron, but what's possible?
Yes, exactly. So that is an invitation. So put some comments and let us know, what kind of relationships do you have, professionally or personally, where you feel like there is healthy conflict, and what created that? Or if you have questions and you feel stuck, this is what Jill and I do. It's what we love. So feel free to either, casually in the comments, or if you want to discuss with us, how do we work with teams to create positive, healthy conflict? We're happy to do that as well.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Darcy.
Yeah, thanks, Jill, for joining me. Happy Thoughtfully Fit Thursday. We will see you next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.